Hey, I'm Hunt, and this is Hunt on LSU, your channel for LSU Fighting Tiger football talk. Enjoy the video. We want you to leave a comment below, hit that like button, and subscribe right below the video. Enjoy. Football season unofficially kicks off on Monday. SEC Media Days from Dallas, Texas. Texas and Oklahoma, part of the festivities. LSU will take its turn on Monday. Preston Guy talking about it here. He's from TigerBait.com. Joins us every Friday on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Preston, how are you?
Hunt, you mean there's something else other than a video game coming out on Monday? That's wild, man.
It appears that way. I feel like the internet may disagree a little bit, but it appears that there will be other activities going on. I can't confirm until we get there, but that appears the way that things are trending. Is LSU going to be a top 5 rushing offense in a 16-team SEC?
I don't know about that. I wouldn't guess so because, the offensive line is certainly there, but I think this offense is really going to be predicated on passing the ball. There's a lot to be seen about the running backs as well, but I'm not saying it'd be a bad rushing offense. I just really do think that they're going to be trying to push the ball downfield. They want to get aerial in this offense.
Who's going to lead the team in carries?
Oh, boy. If it's not Caleb Jackson, that's a big disappointment. But it's hard to ignore Josh Williams and his body of work, particularly what he does when the ball is not in his hand. I would really like to see them use them more situationally. In fact, even last year, I really didn't like the way they rotated the backs based on situations and using their strength. Josh Williams is a fantastic back, but I didn't really like using him in, goal line situations. He's not a bigger back. So I would like it where Josh Williams is in on a lot of passing downs because not only is he a great blocker if he needs to block, but also he's a fantastic, he's great at catching out of the backfield. So I would like to see, even if the snaps are split 50-50 amongst him and Caleb Jackson, I'd like to see Caleb Jackson getting handed the ball more, and I'd like to see Josh Williams used a little more technically.
Why do you think they trust Josh Williams so much?
Why do I think they like him?
They trust him.
Oh, trust him. Well, he's trustworthy. That's a big part of it. Doesn't fumble the ball very often. He is a leader. He just shows up and works quietly each and every day. He's a guy who does the thing. It cannot be understated how important it is to do the things right when the ball is not in your hand. That's the kind of thing we as fans don't notice. The overtime touchdown where Jayden Daniels takes it in and runs against Alabama in 2022, right? Nobody talks about the block that Josh Williams threw 15 yards downfield to clear the path for Jayden Daniels. It was magnificent. Everybody talks about the run. The coaches notice that kind of stuff, and that stuff stands out. And if you're blocking and catching well and just to miss a reliable back, you're going to have a spot in an SEC team. And I think he'll have a spot in the NFL. It might not be a super high draft pick, but I think there's teams who want that kind of player on their team.
Interesting. I think that's the first time I've heard someone say that Josh Williams would have a future in the National Football League. Do you think there was a trust issue with Caleb Jackson, or do you think it was just the fact that they did trust Josh Williams and of course, Logan Diggs so much more?
Oh, well, it's a trust issue, but I don't think it's a trust issue necessarily specifically against Caleb Jackson. Brian Kelly doesn't trust freshmen. He prefers to lean on the veteran experience of his team. So I don't think they were necessarily discriminating against Caleb Jackson at all. I just think it was that. In terms of what Caleb Jackson, they couldn't trust him to do, this is another thing we were talking about, using backs situationally. Caleb Jackson doesn't have as reliable hands as Josh Williams. So if you remember, what game am I thinking of? Ole Miss, there was actually a crucial third or fourth down on the final drive of the game where Jayden Daniels just hit Caleb Jackson right in between the numbers on the swing pass, and he just drops it. So that kind of stuff that they couldn't trust him to be a complete back. That's what the problem was with Caleb Jackson last year. But as a runner, I think they trusted him just fine. It's just the fact that he's a freshman, and you had, not to mention, Hunt, think about that backfield last year. How many veteran players did you have to rely on? That's not really the case anymore. You've got 4 scholarship backs, one of which being John Emery Jr., one of which being a true freshman, and then the other 2 are Josh Williams and Caleb Jackson.
Do you think it's reasonable to expect Caleb Jackson to improve in the receiving portion of the game? I remember that first down you're talking about vividly, and I was sitting on my couch and I went, "That's going to be a big problem." And it was.
Yeah.
They punted, or they didn't.
Well,
they did not convert whatever that drive was.
It's funny. I think you were there with me at fall camp last year when they hit him up on a similar pass, and Greg Brooks, actually of all people, caught the bobble and took it for a pick six. That was a recurring issue. I don't know, Hunt. I don't know. It's one of those things I'd have to see it in person. I don't think Caleb Jackson's bread and butter is ever going to be receiving out of the backfield. There's just certain backs like Leonard Fournette. He did it from time to time, but that was never his bread and butter, especially here at LSU. I don't know if it will be his bread and butter. I think he's just more of a hard-nosed runner. Once he gets to full speed, he's hard to stop kind of guy.
You mentioned the veteran backfield last year. It was hard for Caleb Jackson to get carries. He got 31. Over under 31 carries for Caden Durham this year.
Over, because, at worst, he's your fourth back. I think there's a strong argument that he might even get your third back reps over John Emery Jr. We'll just have to see with John Emery Jr. He's an enigma, man. He's all over the place. Sometimes it's just one of those things you haven't been able to rely on him on or off the field. So the fact that there's not 8 scholarship running backs that you're sitting behind, it would be outstanding if Caden Durham did not get over 31 reps, especially given that let's say you did want to redshirt him. Nowadays you do get 4 games if you want to do that.
Right, and last year LSU had Grambling where Caleb Jackson got 11. You had that was his high watermark for the season, but you also had Army and Georgia State. This year you have USC and UCLA, so you got one less rental win, so maybe a few less mop-up carries, but the depth chart is a little bit different as well, so we'll see. What do you expect personally from John Emery? I know you say he's an enigma. Do you think he'll be a factor?
I expect it to be the unexpected. That's the one thing I've learned from his career. You realize he caught passes from Joe Burrow.
Yeah.
Like, does that ever, do you ever just wake up and realize that and, think, wow, he has been here a long time? And there's always something. Now, physically, ever since 2 years ago, he came in that 2022 offseason and just looked chiseled. He didn't play the entire year. There's all sorts of stuff, hoopla. I guess 2021 is the year he didn't play, but he's just never been able to put it all together. And I don't think talent was ever the issue for him, but I'll give him this: if he ever does put it all together, and he tightens up his carrying, because remember, he actually put himself in the doghouse against UAB for fumbling twice in a rainy game. So he's got to be more secure with the ball. He's got to be more secure with his academics and scheduling classes and making sure he stays right. When it comes to expectations for John Emery Jr., I've just given up. I'm just like, whatever he gives us, just consider it a surprise, a little lanyap, if you will.
You think this team's going to be able to run the ball when they need to?
Yes, because they probably have the best offensive line in football. I just hope that they get I hope that they rotate the backs with purpose. You're not just putting a guy in there for fresh legs. Like, you need to be using these guys situationally and strategically. If it's third and short, hand it off to Caleb Jackson, please. If you're passing the ball around and you need a good blocker and catcher, use Josh Williams. If you're looking for someone to break it open with top-end speed, look to Caden Durham. That's what I'm hoping to see.
Does that make you predictable by personnel a little bit?
You can be. You have to do some things to throw them off. You do have to do some things to throw them off. But, I think when you're in 3rd and 1 on the 2-yard line or whatever, I think being predictable is part of the game.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
At a certain point, it's not about trying to outsmart your opponent. At a certain point, you got to lower your shoulder pads and hit a guy and drive him back. That's part of football. You can't just outsmart your opponent on every down.
How do you feel about LED lights in Tiger Stadium?
Oh, I do feel bad for the photographers on the sideline. That has to make their job incredibly hard. I can't imagine getting the perfect shot of a touchdown celebration and the lights wearing black in the middle of your shot, I would be just livid. Well, I don't know. I've actually never seen LED lights in person on a stadium, so I'll reserve my judgment till I see them in person. But on TV, I thought they've been a little tacky.
Is there anything that piques your interest in Dallas next week, whether it's a new coach, new programs, LSU side of things? Is there anything that is interesting to you there, or is it just a necessary step towards football season?
It's a necessary step towards football season. It's great to hear from the coaches. They kind of set the tone, give you some expectations, but it's not meat and potatoes. If anything, you're probably just going to get a few memes out of it. You're going to get a few coaches taking shots here and there. You're going to create some off-the-field fan drama, but, it's not a formal event of any. If anything, it brings back good memories of sitting in with Tommy Karam and the SID, prepping Leonard Fournette and those guys for SEC media days, and basically asking them the meanest questions you can imagine just for the media to toss you up a bunch of softballs.
We shall see. It's coming whether we like it or not. Coming up on Monday from Dallas, Preston Guy, TigerBait.com with us every single Friday. Preston, have a great weekend. Thanks, man.
All right, take it easy. See you soon.
Check them out on TigerBait.com, their YouTube channel. Mike Scarborough and Preston do a great job of covering you wall-to-wall with LSU football all year long. If you're looking for LSU football content, you can certainly find it on our YouTube page as well. Hunt on LSU is our YouTube page for this show. Just helps you take those 2-hour shows and condense it down to 12 minutes of LSU football talk. You don't have to go searching for it. It's just right there on your homepage. So subscribe to the channel. We certainly appreciate it. See a lot of folks are reacting to that Corey Raymond video that we put up earlier this week. So if you haven't seen it, go ahead and check that out on YouTube. Hey, thanks for watching Hunt on LSU. Before you get out of here, do us a couple of favors. Hit that like button, leave your comments below, and subscribe to the channel for all your Fighting Tiger football talk. See you next time.